Welcome everybody to the Magic Beans podcast. We are back again for episode number 158. I'm your host tonight, and my name is Shorty, and I have just one lone bean in the form of Cracker. How's it going, mate?
Good, thanks, mate. How are you?
I'm better than you sound.
Good is a stretch. I feel mostly okay. I've got a cold. Thanks, kids from school bringing germs home again. You know what that's like. So, yeah, I've got extra bass this week for your listening pleasure.
Because that's exactly what you needed with your voice.
It is. It's definitely the way that my voice needed to go. It's a shame we're not doing this in the morning, because then you get morning vase plus, like sick voice, and it's just it's like Barry White levels of deep.
Just this,
single.
Just you just go summon the chills, Cracker.
There you go. You're welcome. No announcements this week, so you don't get the full rundown, but a bunch of stuff to talk about, Shorty.
Yeah, lots of things to talk about. I actually made it this week, unlike the previous podcast where we were ready to record and then my power just went out.
Yep, was pretty good.
No reason. So yeah, that was good fun. But yeah, lots of little topics to hit on tonight. No Chewy, he's in the process of opening the newly built heart hospital in where is that? Monash somewhere.
Yeah, eastern suburbs, southeast of Melbourne.
And something was flooded, and they're pushing back their opening date or something. I don't know. It just sounded like a whole bunch of work.
Yeah. I think the words "absolute disaster" were involved. So good luck, Chew. We feel sorry for you and wish you were here, buddy.
Yep. And I haven't heard from Stu for ages, so
that's true.
I'm assuming he's just permanently asleep on the couch. So
I hope he's okay.
Yep. No, all good. But yes, we will get you through this episode tonight, and hopefully it's a good one with lots of good things for you to get out of it. But before we get into any of that, Cracker, who are our awesome sponsors?
Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. We talk about them every week, but they're back again supporting us with our tournament series, which has just kicked off this week. But Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar are a Facebook auction page. They have nightly auctions of physical Magic cards, and they have Win It Now lots where you can just go in and say mine, and you can get really, really good prices on individual cards or like play sets of cards. Particularly at the moment, Pat's got stacks and stacks of cards from One up there, all the million different variants of things, which is cool. And yeah, you can just go bid on other cards during the week, and they've got premium auctions on the weekend. So go check them out, jpmtgbazaar.com. And when you do win an auction, let them know the Bean sent you.
Very good. All right, so after seeing as we've switched to this like fortnightly, or gone back to fortnightly episodes, it's like, we've got to talk about the things that happened in the last few weeks, and you kind of forget what they were. So
pre-release.
we went and pre-release, Cracker.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do. Do you know what I remember about?
Already?
No, I remember that I was home by the time we used to start pre-releases.
Yes. I remember before midnight. It was fantastic.
It was so nice. So yeah, we went down to Games Portal in Ringwood, which is our local game shop, and
it was packed.
It was the busiest I've ever seen it.
Yeah. I have actually heard from a few people around and different podcasts and stuff that for some reason this pre-release was just big everywhere. I don't know if it was hype for the set or if it's just people have, hit the same sort of point of us where it's like, yep, I need to get back to playing Paper Magic. We're all over being locked down and all that sort of stuff. Let's get back into it or what? But yeah, everywhere was being packed for their pre-releases, which is cool.
So one thing that I had with my second round opponent, she had been playing for like 4 months and had only ever played on Arena.
Yeah,
and so this was the first time she'd ever played a pre-release or like a physical, games. And she beat me in the first game or the second game. She's like, that's the first time I've ever won a game of Paper Magic. And I was like, that's awesome. So I was really happy for her and to play. It was just a really,
and
it's
then you crushed her soul.
No, I didn't. It went to time, so I scooped because I wanted to let her have the match win. She also had a Kyra on board, and I was probably just dead to it if the game played out. But, no, it was good. It was pre-release is always fun, man. Like it's just always such a good time.
Yep. Yeah, my round one opponent was Lyndon from our Discord, who is is not a new player.
He is not.
Stretch of the imagination.
Nope.
And
how'd that go?
Yeah. Well, we played 3 games, so that was I took him to 3, but he did defeat me. But it was quite interesting sitting down opposite him, and he rolls out his 2020 Magic Beans Invitational playmat, and it's like, you've got me on your playmat. That's that's cool. And then he crushed me, and then his second round he played Chewy, and then crushed him. So he was just like ticking the beans off of his playmat, which is pretty cool.
Imagine that. And the next time you sit down, he's just got giant red crosses through the faces of the defeated beans.
Yeah, it was like, so do we have to sign like over us to say, yep, you've beaten us, and you got to collect them all?
That's amazing.
Yep. But no, it was good fun. You and Chewy predicted my evening very, very accurately on the previous podcast. Yep. You said that I would open absolute garbage, which I did. I really did. And then somehow I would win matches with it, which I did. So
No, it's nice to know that some things in the universe are consistent. Chewy and I actually sat on the opposite side of the room just to get as far away from your curse as we could, and both of us opened Elish Norns. In fact, the people sat next to us both opened Elish Norns as well.
Yeah,
so
that was weird.
Of us, it was very strange. Like they all pulled them, and I was like, "Oh, it must be my turn." My last pack pulled it out. I was like, "Oh, here it is." It was like hilarious. I didn't play it. I didn't have any other good white cards, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I had Chris sitting next to me who opened a Nissa and a Luca, and then Stu sitting opposite me who also opened a Luca, and then I basically had 0 playable rares. My mythic was an all will be one with no like oil counter support or anything like that. It was just like, oh, goodness me. Anyway, good fun, but great night and awesome to be back doing pre-releases. So hopefully we'll be able to get out to some more for upcoming sets. There's always Magic sets coming out, Cracker. I don't know if you've noticed that, but there's always a set coming out.
It feels like they've really just slowed down the pace of I can't finish that sentence. Anyway.
No, you can't.
Slow down the pace of gaps in between sets, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. They've slowed it down to there is no gap between preview seasons of one set or another, or secret layers or whatever. Did you know, Cracker, that you can get a Magic love sack now?
I did see that.
If you know what that is.
I did see it. Am I right? It's just a beanbag, right?
It's a beanbag, yes.
Did you see how much it was?
Like $900 or something stupid?
Yes, it was just under $1,000.
Wow, yep.
And I was looking at some of that. It is literally a giant beanbag with artwork of Magic cards on it.
Yep.
And they weren't even like classic artworks. Like I saw Dream Trawler on there like 4 times. I'm like, I mean, that card was good, but like, give me Lotus and Mox and like Power 9 and stuff. Like, at least make it feel like it's worth $1,000, not this card that was good in Standard for 3 months 2 years ago.
I wonder if they actually ship it to you like with the beans in
No,
it.
of course not. How would they do that?
Well, maybe that's why it's $1,000 including shipping, because we've got to ship over all these little polystyrene balls everywhere.
Have you ever filled up a beanbag?
Oh, yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, it's great.
Yep. It always ends with little polystyrene balls all through the house. So.
Got to do it in the bathtub, mate. That's the pro tip.
Yeah, I did in the bathtub last time, but they still managed to escape because they just like static to everything, and then it's like, oh, now they're getting all over the place, and then you got to use the vacuum cleaner, and then you clog up your vacuum cleaner, and it's a nightmare. So
this is the content people tune in for.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get back on track. So you guys mentioned it on the podcast the last time, a fortnight ago. I can't. I'm still in the habit of saying last week, but it's not. It's a fortnight ago. This weekend, we have a Pro Tour, a genuine, real-life, actual paper, officially labelled as a Pro Tour. A PT. It's back.
A PT Philly.
Yeah. So we spoke about it when they first announced it, like a year ago or something like that. I don't know. It was ages ago. But, yeah, we've got Magic Con Philly. So they had a Magic Con, that was the Vegas Magic Con last year sometime, I think.
That's the one.
It was a massive event. It was, convention style with side events and command zones and cosplay contests with gift vouchers for prizes and all that sort of controversial stuff. But massive event. But the last one they had a main event, or sort of a main event, but not a Pro Tour level event. And this time it's an actual genuine PT. So this is the first Pro Tour in about 3 years. The last time we had a high-level paper event was Worlds in February 2020. So
in February 2020. So that means the last actual PT was like the end of 2019.
Was before that, yes. So it's like 3 and a bit years since a PT, and then there was Worlds in February 2020.
That's insane.
Yeah. Obviously, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, of course. But, I mean, you know,
COVID and stuff.
Time makes everything so wibbly wobbly at the moment. So, like,
yes.
But that's when you put it out like that, it feels like such a long time ago.
Yeah, J-Mud will be very happy that you just used that phrase. That's
yeah. Mate, it's a
phrase.
Timey-wimey.
He was very proud. I caught up with J-Mud last weekend. I think he had me over for dinner, which was very nice, and he was very, very excited and proud to show me his ridiculous Doctor Who novel collection. He owns every single Doctor Who book that has been released, the novel books, which goes back to like, you know, the 60s or whatever. And some of them are, you know, old and trashed, and some of them are really old and in plastic slips like magic cards and things like that. But that was his COVID thing to help keep him sane, was tracking them all down and collecting them. So he was
that's
very
cool.
happy with that. Yep. So if you're a Doctor Who fan, hit J-Mud up. He's right into it. But we're getting on tangents. Chewy's not here, and we're just going all sorts of off tracks. This is bad. So, proper Pro Tour. Yep. So the Pro Tour is Pioneer. That is the main constructed format. But this is like normal, regular Pro Tour format where they're drafting. You know, two days of Swiss rounds. As each day starts with 3 rounds of draft, and then they're playing, what is it, like 7 or 8 rounds or something like that of 6 rounds? 6 rounds. I think it's six rounds of Pioneer. Mm-hmm. And then the next day they come back, they draft again. 3 rounds of draft, and then 5 or 6 rounds of Pioneer again, cut the top 8, and then play the top 8 the next day. So that's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
500 grand prize pool, which is massive compared to the Pro Tours of old. I think
they used to be 25 or 40,
like
I think they got up to.
First prize was maybe 10 grand if you were lucky.
Yeah.
So 500 grand prize pool is massive. There's obviously a bunch of Worlds qualifications and all that sort of stuff that goes along with it as well. And this is sort of the start of that new pyramid system. Do you remember we spoke about the adjusted match points or something along those lines, where they take, you know, your last 3 results and you get points based on your match points and things like that. And basically it's the way to chain events together.
Okay, so when I said I remember pictures of pyramids.
There's a pyramid, yes, there is a pyramid.
And we talked about being OP and that Chewy was heading it up.
Yes.
That is the extent of my memory.
Because everything else beyond that is not relevant to us.
Correct. There were ways to get invites into... there was like fractional invites for placements based on like arena opens and stuff like that. And anyway, whatever. Who cares? Because this is going to be cool. This will be a good show. I can almost guarantee it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. It's we were sort of talking before the podcast that some of the podcasts that we listen to have specifically been not talking about Pioneer because they don't want to give things away. And this is something we haven't had this in ages. This is what we used to get all the time. You would have a Pro Tour coming up, the pros would stop talking about the formats that it was going to be, and they would get houses together. And, you know, get testing teams together and all that sort of stuff. And they'd go and stay together and they would be drafting flat out for a week and then, you know, trying to break the format in the constructed format, all that sort of thing. And then you would see the Pro Tour and you wouldn't get deck lists until you saw it on coverage. And it's like, oh, what is this deck? And you'd get some spicy, you know, deck breakdowns and things like that on stream. Yep. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, this is really cool. And you get to see the metagame shape out. You start to see a metagame breakdown, all that sort of thing. And then after the event, you get top 8 deck list and all that. And it's like, oh, man, this is cool. And it sets the format. It defines a metagame for the format. And we haven't had that for so long.
I know. I'm really looking forward to it because you used to see like the metagame breakdown and there'd be some name for a deck that you're just like, what is that?
Yeah.
Like, what is Esper Dragons? Like, what does that include? Like, you know, like there's these decks that just kind of spring to mind that came out of nowhere and just crushed. So I'm really hoping...
Shadows.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
True. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah. Yeah, and like if you're a hashtag MTG finance person, the Pro Tour is actually really cool because if you could identify the decks that were looking like they were going to be strong early on, you could quickly snap up, you know, jump on eBay and jump on TCG Player and things like that and quickly snap up a bunch of the rares that are still super cheap because they would spike. I don't know if that's going to happen these days with the way Paper Magic is, but they would spike in price, and then you could resell them, the week after the Pro Tour when everyone's trying to get those decks to play them in their own tournaments and things. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, just getting to see what the pros can come up with. Because, we just haven't had that.
No, but there hasn't been incentive to.
No. Yeah, people have been testing in groups through Discord, all that sort of stuff. But this is really the first time that, I know of pros who have flown to Philly a week or so early, which it would have been interesting to be in Philly after the Super Bowl last week. Sorry, Pat. I think there was a few people saying, I hope that our hotel doesn't get trashed. And
I saw people saying, I'm really disappointed. I was hoping for happy riots, not angry riots, but it looks like I don't get that.
Yeah. But actually, dedicating a week to 2 weeks in a hotel in another country to hardcore test is something that we just haven't had for ages, and it really is cool and exciting that is something that's viable again, and something that the pros feel is worthwhile for the organised play system. So,
yeah, for sure. I always loved seeing the different teams seeing formats differently. So you would have Team Channel Fireball who would come up with their take on the format, and then you'd have Team Card Hoarder or Ultimate Guard or whoever it was, one of the other big teams, East-West Bowl and those kinds of guys, right? They would see the format differently, and they would build a totally different deck, and seeing how they played out against each other is always really cool, because you end up in this kind of insular environment. Even though there's a huge amount of information that they're gathering and learning, it feeds off the information they already have, and if someone's coming at it from a slightly different starting point, they can end up in wildly different places, which is brilliant to see.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, there's always those teams where it's we've come up with this deck and it's the best deck, and then they go and play and it just sucks. And then you hear things from them afterwards and they're like, our insular testing just we just went around in circles so much that our information we were feeding back into it was pointing us in the wrong direction, and we've just completely missed something and just bombed out. And then exactly like I said, you get the total opposite, where someone's come at it from a different direction. You get the same with draft, actually, because they spend quite a lot of time drafting. They're really going real deep on the format and trying to break the format and trying to find, okay, what's the deck where we can just hard force this deck, this archetype. And if they can find that, if they can break that deck and go, look, this deck doesn't, on the surface, this deck isn't an obvious archetype or a synergy or something like that people are going to see, but we've found it and it is just super powerful. And then that means that they can go into a draft pod and it's likely that it's going to be open. They can just force it for every draft and then just absolutely smash it. And then you see day one that happen, and then day two, the draft metagame shifts because all of a sudden people are like, oh, hang on, these teams that did really well yesterday were all drafting this, and then that changes the draft meta as well. So the draft coverage is always pretty boring. I never watch the draft coverage because it's just some people are super into limited and whatever, and that's fine, but it's just not that exciting. And the game,
it's hard to do because you've got to follow a player kind of all the way through, and that's tough to do because you want to follow winners, but you can't predict who's going to be a winner when they sit down at the pod. So
exactly.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yep. So that starts this weekend. So it's actually coverage starts Saturday 3 a.m. Melbourne time for us, and we'll run through the day. And then usually they put it as soon as the coverage ends, they just put it on as a replay. So then you can watch it live again from 10 or 11 a.m. or something on the Saturday. So. And then watch that, into the evening, that sort of thing. And then we'd same thing on the Sunday, and then usually get the top 8 that kicks off at, I don't know, some point it's normally on when I'm driving to work and it's partway through. So it must kick off early in the morning again, and then usually wraps up about 9 or 10 o'clock or something like that. So good coverage. It'll be interesting to see because they haven't done paper coverage for years. What are they going to do? Is it going to be the same coverage we used to get that was pretty full on, or is it going to be a scale back version, or is it going to be new stuff? We don't know what we're going to get. So this will be the first time we're going to see that. And Wizards had came out and said we're not going to cover the regional championships, we're not going to cover any of that sort of stuff. It's just going to be Pro Tours and Worlds, and that's it. So hopefully that means any budget that they would have had for those things they're putting into their Pro Tour and Worlds coverage, and they're going to go next level, which would be pretty sweet.
Be awesome.
Either way, I'll be trying to tune into as much of this as I can because I'm quite a fan of Pioneer. So looking forward to seeing the format and just looking forward to seeing high-level paper Magic, which will be good.
Yeah.
So should we have a quick look at the Pioneer meta? We were sort of saying before, like, we can have a bit of a look at the meta and give people a little bit of an idea of what's going on, but it's likely going to change after this weekend. But at least you have a bit of an idea of, sort of the decks to expect. So what are just give us a quick run through on the deck names of, the top lists that we've got in the Pioneer meta at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they've been pretty stationary for a while now. So it feels like there've been tweaks and changes, but it feels like the meta's been pretty set. So we've got like Rakdos midrange, Mono Green Nykthos ramp, Blue White control, Hidden Strings, so Lotus Field combo, Gruul midrange, then there's Selesnya Angels, Mono White humans, Is It Phoenix, and then somewhere down a few more is Creativity, because I've been told I have to mention that deck.
Because it's the best deck and it's the most fun to play.
No surprises in that list.
No, they're all decks that we've been seeing for 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we played them in Sydney, right?
Pioneer.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I think that we're going to start seeing a few more cards, and it's tricky because we're looking at Goldfish, which does a pretty good job of, collating information, but it's not perfect, and it's like aggregate lists or, like a list that did well in a particular event. So there's not necessarily like the most innovation because, they don't necessarily have all the man-hours behind the decks to do that. So like looking at this Rakdos midrange deck, there's just kind of nothing new, which is a bit sad.
Got some new lands in there, Cracker. What are they?
It does. They're called a Blackcleave Cliffs. Yes. I opened one of those at the pre-release. It was not very good.
No, it's not what you want in your rare slot for.
It's not really. I did play it.
Oh, nice.
But yeah. I mean, this is the Blood Tithe Harvester, Bone Crusher, Croxer, Shieldreds now.
Red,
I guess
black,
is the new tech.
Value. Yep.
Fable Thoughtseize, removal spells. I don't know what else there is to say about this.
Yeah. Yep. I think like the other point to make, which you were sort of saying before, like the pros have stopped playing Magic Online and things like that, and often what they do is the lists that usually get published from Magic Online are the lists that go 5-0 in leagues and things like that. So you get a lot of pros that when they're testing decks, they just if they go 4-0 in a league, they just concede so that their lists don't get published, or they're testing under false accounts and all that sort of thing, dummy accounts and things, so that people don't see what they're testing. So yeah, it's hard to see an accurate snapshot of what we're going to be seeing this weekend. But there's going to be Rakdos midrange in some sort of version. There may be a few new cards that get thrown in there and numbers that get juggled a bit, but it's going to be pretty similar to this sort of stuff. Just red-black value, grind people out, kill their creatures, mess with their hand, and just value you out of the game. That's what the Rakdos deck does.
Yeah, for sure. I guess, like looking at Pioneer as a larger format, it's always much harder for a single set to upend the whole thing, right? Like you don't have the density of powerful cards in a single set to redefine everything most of the time. Yeah. There can be exceptions to that, but, like to say that we're not going to have a Rakdos deck with Sheldreds and Fables and Thoughtseizes is just like, I mean, that's the core engine of the deck, right? Like that's kind of the things you're trying to do. So
yeah, it's going to be a 10+% deck in the field. At
least.
Correct.
But in terms of the 75 that we're looking at, if it was 70 of the same cards, I wouldn't be surprised.
No.
Like there'll be sideboard choices that, always shift based on what people expect. And maybe we'll see some, Sheldred's edicts and things like that. And, a few other things that are new, but it'll be random incremental upgrades. And especially with the next deck, which is Mono Green Ramp. Because this engine is just stupid. We've talked about it a bunch of times. And there's actually, I did see a couple of new cards in here, Shorty. It's got Bloated Contaminator.
I did see that.
Which is 2 and a green for a 4/4. And it's got Trample and Toxic 1. And it says, whenever Bloated Contaminator deals combat damage to a player, proliferate. Which means you get extra activations out of your Kioras because you can only minus it. That lets you pump your Khans. There's a few different things there. Actually, that's just kind of it, isn't it? It's just those two things. But it's also it's another 3-mana 4/4.
Yep. Yeah, it's like the deck has the deck's always tuning its sideboard because it's a Khan the Great Creator deck.
Yes.
It's always changing, the different cards that it's got in there, and a few, like it picked up Haywire Might from Brothers War, which was kind of an auto inclusion.
And Leveler.
Yeah, Cityscape Lever. And another one that it picked up is the Stone Brain, which works really well with Khan as well, because the Stone Brain is 2 mana, and then it's 2 tap, exile the Stone Brain, choose a card name, search target opponent's graveyard, hand a library for up to 4 cards with that name, and exile them. That player shuffles, then draws a card for each card exiled, blah, 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 that sort of thing. But the main thing with this is the Stone Brain exiles itself as part of this ability, and then you can just get it from exile again with Khan. So
seems
fair. So you can just keep reusing it every turn, like for playing it and activating on the same turn is quite easy, and then you can just get it back again and do it again and just destroy your opponent's game plan. So I'm still of the opinion that I think Khan should be banned, and if this deck has any sort of reasonable performance, or either reasonable performance on the weekend or horrible gameplay on camera, because this is a deck that still has the, Chain Veil, Pestilent Cauldron, whatever the weird combo is from its sideboard that takes ages to win.
Yep.
If we start seeing a lot of that on camera, I think that could be enough for them to go, okay, you know what, Khan is definitely a problem and ban it. Because it's just painful to play. I mean, this deck, I don't know if, I've been playing a little bit of Explorer over the last couple of weeks, and this list is basically all on Explorer except for, I think, Oath of Nissa. Everything else is there. And the amount of times it just goes, play a Nykthos, tap Nykthos for 5 mana, storm the festival, hit another Nykthos, and, something else, put those into play, float more mana, do the same, like flashback Storm the Festival. Sometimes they're casting Storm the Festival 3 times in a turn. And it's just stupid.
It really is. It breaks some fundamental rules of Magic around how much mana you should have access to.
Yeah.
Right.
So it is pretty strong without having Khan and all the ridiculous things that Khan's doing. So I think even if you took that out, it would be one of those decks where it's like, okay, cool, well, we've just freed up our whole sideboard and 4 slots from Khan, so now we can just put in, we'll just fill the rest of the Seeker's Chariots or something like that.
Yeah, correct. You're just what's the biggest green creature? You cast the new Tyrannorex or whatever it's called, right? Maybe that's your top
probably don't want that. No, you want things you can hit off Storm the Festival, so they've got to be 5 or less.
Maybe, but then you can just cast hasty, infecty 8/8 and hexproof and all that sort of stuff. But yes, anyway. We will see a bunch of this.
Yep.
And the engine is too strong to change fundamentally. So there'll be, again, tweaks, but that's kind of all I'd expect. Yeah,
yep. The blue-white control's been around in forever in some sort of version in Pioneer, and basically just changes its counter spells and removal spells to sort of go against the metagame that's predicting. I would assume that this list would probably pick up some number of the new Eternal Wanderer. The list we're looking at has 4 Wandering Emperors and 3 Teferi Hero of Dominarias. I would assume they would probably pick up some Eternal Wanderers as well, because that card seems quite strong. But I don't know. I'm not a blue-white control player, so
I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a lot of this, because the metagame will be unknown. So it can be hard to build the counter suite and the interaction suite properly without knowing what you're coming against.
Yeah.
So control decks tend not to be great at the start of formats. I know we've said this a bunch of times, but this is effectively the start of a new format, right? We've just had a set drop, and there's a lot of pressure for people to find new innovation and to know whether Jawari Disruption is a good card, or Teferi Hero of Dominaria is the finisher you need. Maybe it needs to be, Hullbreaker Horror or something like that. There are other top ends that you can go to that you don't know what that needs to be yet. So there'll be some stalwarts who play this because it's control and that's their thing. I'm looking at you, Nassif. But, I wouldn't be surprised if this isn't massively represented.
No, and it is pretty rare for control to be a highly represented deck in any meta. It just kind of isn't. If if control is the top deck in a meta, then you're more likely to see way more aggro than you are of control. And yes, there might still be a decent representation of control, but you're going to get more people going, well, heaps of people are going to play control, so we're just going to get under them and just play aggro. So,
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of the way it goes. The Lotus Field deck hasn't really changed. I don't think we've spoken about this deck before. It's the crazy combo with your... what's it called? Thespian
Lotus
Stages
Field,
and Lotus Fields and
Emergent Ultimatums and eventually just casting Omniscience and winning through Approach to the Second Sun out of the sideboard.
Still randomly is a Karma in the sideboard.
it's good against the aggro decks.
Yep.
It's kind of. Sometimes you just can't get to Approach because of Thalia. Or actually, that's not true because anyway. There are times, I don't know, you need random... It's a wish board, right?
It is, yeah. Yeah, you've got the Masterminds Acquisition and... What's the other one? Behold the Beyond? No?
Behold the Beyond is Search Deck. Some of them have actually just cut back to Masterminds Acquisition. The other one is the split card, the Fae of Wishes, you'll see in different lists as well.
Yes, yeah.
But I don't know that the one we've got on screen has that in it.
It just has the one Masterminds Acquisition, which is interesting.
Yeah, because you can rebuy with Barliket Recoveries and stuff like that. There's a bunch of different ways to get it back. Or Leah, there's a lot of different ways where you can do that. This deck is really strong. If you don't interact with it, it will just kind of crush.
What's the earliest that this deck can win? Like, is it a turn 3 win, or it's slower than that?
Yeah, turn 4.
Okay.
I mean, I think there's probably like a Magical Christmas Land turn 3, but you've got to go, Grazer turn 1, put in 2 lands, Grazer turn 2, I think, to put in Lotus Field plus Stage, and then you have some untap effects on turn 3 and go off. I think you'd have to have that kind of setup.
Yeah, okay.
Because you can't play Lotus Field earlier than turn 2, and then you'll have a Lotus Field in play and nothing to do with it. So
yep.
Turn 3, you can start untapping, assuming you've had a Grazer as an accelerant or whatever. So, yeah, turn 3. Turn 4 is pretty comfortable, and 5 is just easy mode most of the time.
Yep. Not a deck that I'm interested in playing, but I've heard some people saying this is the deck that you should be playing. Why would you play anything else if people don't interact with you? Which there's not a huge amount of interaction. You just win. So, but then I've heard other people saying that it's not so good. So I don't know. You've played this deck a bit. You played it on stream, and it does seem strong. But I'll pass on it. Too much big brain.
It's hard.
Stuff. Yep.
Yeah. It's one of those things where the combo isn't necessarily hard to work through. It's a lot of game actions and just knowing the steps. But the targets are mostly the same and that sort of thing. But knowing the critical turn to go off and how much resource you have to go off with is the difficult part there. It's can I buy one more turn against this aggro deck or this mid-range deck to, guarantee the win, or, that sort of stuff that you have to kind of work around. So it requires a bit of format knowledge as well.
Yep. Well, if you don't want to do too much thinking, you can play Gruul mid-range.
Sure can. Chewy loves this deck.
He does, and the list we're looking at actually has one of the new Lukas in it. Luka Bound to Ruin. So, but yeah, it's just Mana Dorks, Scoozers, Werewolf Pack Leaders, Bone Crushers, Lovestruck Beast, Reckless Storm Seekers, Chariots, Sky Sovereigns. Just put dudes on the field and attack. Turn them sideways, and get in there.
It seems kind of wild to me that they don't go up to Questing Beast.
I was literally about to say, I was trying to think of the name. I was like, it seems weird that there's no Questing Beast in here, but I mean, all the creatures are 3 or less. I guess you're wanting to. Yeah. Well, Chariot's not a creature when it enters the battlefield. It's
3 creatures.
Yeah,
I guess that's why.
You're wanting to make sure your creatures are, you want to be going turn 1 Mana Dork, turn 2 beefy creature, ideally. And if you're not doing that, you do have a couple of 2-drops and stomps and things like that. But yeah, I guess that's kind of your ideal curve.
Yeah, for sure. And this is the sort of thing where I can see the 4/4 we were talking about before, maybe that finds a way in here.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, Questing Beast just seems, I mean, even in the sideboard, just put some Questing Beast in there somewhere. That card's just crazy. Have you seen how much text is on that card?
Yeah, it's so good against control.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Anyway, there's some, I expect we'll see maybe some Thruns and things come into this now if people are concerned about, counter spells and things like that, some uncounterable annoying threats to deal with. It seemed like there's a few different options that green picked up in one.
Yeah. Yep. And then the rest of the decks that you mentioned, Selesnya Angels, haven't really seen much change in that. It's just your Cocos and your Angels that we've seen in Standard and Explorer as well. Mono White Humans, just Mono White beaters with your various versions of Thalia, Phoenix, Bin Chickens. We all know what that's about.
We sure do.
Yep. Rakdos Sacrifice, just putting cats in the ovens. Everyone loves doing that sort of thing. And then, a bunch of other different things from there. The big one that's seen the hugest drop-off is Greasefang. Greasefang was just a huge part of the Pioneer metagame for ages. And then it just, even by the time we went to Sydney, it was just kind of nowhere to be seen. I think you were meant to play it, and then
I was.
You ended up playing Lotus Field accidentally.
I did, yep. Grabbed the wrong deck box. It's fine.
Yep.
Everything's. This deck is actually still really strong.
It is, yeah. And it's one of those decks where if people aren't prepared for it or they forget about it, then they just get, turn 3 Parhelion and it's like, oh, well, I'm dead.
Yeah. I don't want to make the dredge because it's not, but it's a graveyard deck if you don't respect it. There will be a window where this is the best deck for a tournament and it will crush. And then the following week it will be the worst deck because everyone will pack their Soulguard Lanterns and things like that and you'll just get smoked. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this to see if people can come up with something cool and new. Because for me, Pioneer is in that pre-Modern Horizons version of Modern, where it was like, here's a metagame of 10 decks that are tier 1, tier 2, top decks that you can show up to a tournament and no one's going to say, oh, why are you playing that deck? And then below that, there's 50 decks that on any given weekend could be the deck to play, or people can just not account for it and you can just turn up and absolutely crush. And, you get all your different random, your mills and your...
Well, just like spirits. That was top of the metagame for a while, right? Bad spirits, just nowhere to be seen. So there's definitely things that, can just come out of nowhere. Yeah,
I mean, the last... I think I watched one of the Legacy, not Legacy as in the format, Legacy as in the tournament organizer company, Pioneer things, and there was the Karuga Fires lists that were just kind of going off, and there was another one, I can't remember what it was called, but another, sort of weird combo-y deck, a few different things. But there's the Burgie, there's a Burgie combo deck that you can play. With
you played that
Grinning Ignis and all that sort of thing. There's just heaps of random stuff. I mean, I remember when we first started playing Pioneer, there was black-white auras. Now there's a green-white auras. Plunksy actually played that when we're in Sydney. There was the Scissors deck, the Insol Artifact.
Yeah, Insol Artifacts, yeah.
All that sort of stuff. There's just heaps of stuff. There's actually a Hammer Time deck you can play in Pioneer as well.
Yep,
so
there sure is.
And
rogues, there was there's heaps of different stuff you could do.
Yep. So really looking forward to this. Hopefully we see some spice come out of this weekend.
Hopefully it's not just mono green, because mono green mirrors are miserable.
They are, and so same with Rakdos. If it's just if what we see from the meta is 70% of the meta is Rakdos, Nykthos Ramp, and Azorius Control, man, that's going to be a boring tournament to watch.
Yeah, I won't be watching.
I'm sure somebody out there will be going, oh, this is amazing. It's just grind fests all the time, and I will be tuning out.
Yeah. I mean, the level of skill is always worth tuning in for.
Yeah. Wizards generally does a pretty good job of having on, or they were previously on, having on coverage 4 matches at the same time, and they can pick the couple of spicy lists and things like that, and then have some backup matches of the the pros that you want to see and things like that. So should be okay. But sometimes it gets to a point in the tournament where it's the only decks we could watch are these decks, because that's all there is. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But I'm definitely looking forward to that. Shall we move on to Standard?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So, as you mentioned earlier, Cracker, our first league for the year has kicked off. So we will do a quick recap on the instructions for that league at the end of this. So if you're not interested in a league, you can tune out at that point. That is fine. We will understand.
No.
But
you've got to stay to the end.
That's the real loyal listeners that listen
it.
all the way to the end. Yeah. But this league is Standard. So How much Standard have you played recently, Cracker?
Just heaps of 0 games. So I've been waiting. So I think, how about you, Shorty? How much have you played?
Well, I have not played Standard since my last league match in whenever that was, November last year.
Yeah, possibly October. But anyway, I tend to have, as having been bitten by the rushing in early bug.
By the Judith.
Correct.
Bitten by Judith, yeah.
Yeah, Judas and Blood Crypts. Yeah, I like to sit back and wait. And wait until someone builds a decent Delver deck, and then we'll build that. Unfortunately, it's never happened. But I'm just like, one day, someone's going to build me a deck that looks fun. Yeah, it looks like Standard is same as Pioneer, right? Where there's some powerful cards that have been upgrades for the existing archetypes, but it hasn't been flipped on its head. It feels pretty safe to say.
Yeah, I mean, like we've got Insanity in our Discord who in the first week was like, I've been playing Mono Black and I just added in, some Sheoldred's Edicts and that's it. And I've just gone 15-1 in Mythic and I'm now ranked like 30 or something like that. So it's like, oh, okay, yep. I guess Mono Black's still good then. I same sort of thing. I haven't heard a lot of people talking about Standard, so it's a bit hard to know what's happening, but it seems like, exactly like I said, decks have had a couple of cards upgrades, but there hasn't really been new archetypes shaking out, and which is kind of a good thing.
There's a couple. There's a couple though. Yeah, agreed. It would be nice to see that. Like, I think there was some hope that maybe there'd be like a really cool proliferate deck, or like an oil deck, or even a poison. Like, the obviously green, Rot Priest and that sort of stuff has got some really pushed poison effects, but it just doesn't seem like there's any of that kind of happening. And I thought maybe there'd be like a mono blue, not mono blue, but like a Dimir kind of control deck where you get a couple of early poison counters and you just like proliferate with a bunch of cantrips and like those kind of effects. But nothing's eventuated yet, and it could be that it's just going to take time, and that the people that do that sort of stuff are now currently focused on Pioneer and the PT, and we might see some changes coming up. But
and that's what I was going to say. Like, the pros who would normally be focusing on this are currently playing Pioneer. All we get is Magic Online results, and you were saying before the cast that there's still issues with win trading and things like that in Magic Online in Standard, because Standard's not huge on Magic Online, so it's a bit hard to know. There's also, card availability issues and things like that on Magic Online with when the set's released and how much the bots are opening, and bot accounts apparently just getting permanently banned, which is interesting. Goodness. So that's a big problem. But it is quite hard to know what's changing, what's not, and all that. So
I mean, I guess the good thing about that, though, just to cut you off there, is that the deck you were playing pre-1 is still good.
Yeah, that was going to be my point. Yep.
Yeah, if you've been having success and if you've got a deck that you really enjoy, then you're not going to have to sink $200 into upgrades on it or building something from scratch because your thing has been invalidated.
Yeah, it is good when if the meta slowly evolves, you can continue playing your current list and slowly upgrade that current list, and then maybe at some point you can then move into a new deck. When a new set comes out and it's just like, bang, all the top 5 decks are all now completely invalid. You have to spend a bunch of money on wild cards to get all these new cards, otherwise you just cannot win. That is exciting from a format perspective, but sucks from a player's perspective of having to spend money on the game that's already super expensive. So, yeah, this is kind of good to see.
Agreed. Yep. So let's have a quick run through of some of the top lists that are, again, that we've seen. There's, like we said, issues with availability of deck lists and that sort of stuff, but it's mono white mid-range, Esper mid-range, a lot of mid-range. Esper, Grixis, Mardu, all mid-range.
Yes.
Blue White Soldiers, Jund mid-range. Surprise, surprise. Orzhov mid-range is in here. I think that's all the color combos. Just about. And then 5-color Invoke Justice, Mono Red, and Kami War. So, sort of a 5-color control deck. Yep. So, maybe starting at the top, Mono White really shifted up in its power level, but also the mana
up its curve.
Yeah. We're looking at the list and I was like, there's no 1-drops. There is just, there's no Savannah Lions in here, man, or, there's no 1-drop aggressive creature. They're starting on 2, but it's kind of a mid-range, almost control-y kind of thing where you're going up to, Owl and just Emperors everywhere, Wanderers, Eternal, and then, a bunch of just big stuff. Sarah Paragon to rebuy things. So what are your thoughts on this one?
My first thought is, why are we not playing Elish Norn? Because most of your creatures have Enters the Battlefield triggers. But yeah, this is not, when you say mono white to someone, this is not what you expect. You do not expect your mono white list to be playing the 6 mana Eternal Wanderer. But it just can. The Eternal Wanderer and the Wandering Emperor itself they're just super powerful cards, but you kind of don't need to be playing other colours. Lay Down Arms is just a really, really good removal spell, and you want to be playing a lot of planes to go with that. So branching into another colour means you basically can't play that card anymore, and then you've got to find other removal. But if you've got 4 Lay Down Arms and 4 Ossification, you've just got stacks of removal, and then Wandering Emperor also removes stuff, and then you've got stuff in your creature base that also Anointed Peacekeeper is kind of removal, and Lauren of the Third Path and Cathar Commando are removal for enchantments, and it's interesting. I could see why it's and then just Wedding Announcement. Wedding Announcement continues to be one of the strongest cards in Standard. It's pretty crazy. Sure. But I think something that got missed a little bit with the Eternal Wanderer was the plus ability. Everyone kind of looked at the Eternal Wanderer and went, the plus ability, it's just for blinking your own creatures. But it's actually not. The plus is exile up to 1 target artifact or creature, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of that player's next end step. So you can blink it on your turn to remove a blocker, but they don't get it back till the end of their turn. Yeah, so they don't get it to attack with. Yeah. And then they get it back, and then you can just blink it again, and it's a plus ability on the Eternal Wanderer. So it's I think a lot of people miss that. But yeah, this deck is strong. Yeah,
really is.
Yep. So a few little upgrades, but still kind of similar to what we've seen before.
Yeah, and same with Esper is kind of the next one I've got here.
Yeah. Esper and Grixis haven't really changed much
at all, I think.
Yeah.
Grixis has got Black Cleave Cliffs as far as, upgrades. They've got Sheoldred's Edicts, whether there's, some in the board or some in the main, there's kind of a split there. But yeah, they're kind of pretty efficient at what they're doing already.
Yep. And Esper's picked up, some Eternal Wanderers of Vraska and a slightly different mana base, and that's kind of it. So just some small upgrades, but those small upgrades are very strong. So yeah, like you said, mid-range fest all round. Pick your colours that you would like to play, and there is a mid-range deck for you.
Oh, okay. So let's do that. Let's pick Mardu, and let's have a look. We both nearly spat out our drinks before as we were looking at this. I was like, oh yeah, Mardu mid-range. It is 8 mythics, 46 rares. 46 rares.
Well, there's one that's worse than that we'll get to.
Yeah, but what is going on there? That deck is $550 US.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. It's probably to do with the Sheoldreds and Elish Norns.
Mono blue tempo is $65.
Yeah, buddy.
Actually, when
best deck at $45 is what I'm looking at.
Yeah. When we're at Sydney, I played in the standard 5K on the Sunday, and there was so many people playing mono blue, and talking to them, they're all just like, we wanted to play standard because this was a 5K, but it was just like, what's the cheapest deck? Okay, mono blue, cool. I'll just put down $100, get the mono blue deck, and then I can just throw it in the bin later.
That's it, because you've lost all your games, so you probably will want to throw it in the bin. But when the deck is the same cost as one Sheoldred, it's kind of nuts. All right, so let's talk about more expensive decks. Let's work our way up. 5-color Invoke Justice.
This one's gotten some spice.
It does. So we've seen Invoke Justice decks before, which is the white sorcery that reanimates a creature. But it was previously bringing back, what was the Titan of Industry?
Yes,
is usually one of the main targets there.
Yep.
Which was not a huge
It's a permanent
mana.
that you can return to your
Yes.
Yep.
Correct.
So
Sorry.
It doesn't have to be a creature.
No, and so it comes in with a +1/+1 counter. You can distribute them amongst a bunch of things.
You can distribute 4 +1/+1 counters among any number of creatures and or vehicles target player controls.
Do you know what's a real good target for that? is a 7/7 with Flying Vigilance, Death Touch, and a lifelink. That's right. Yes. We are flashing back Atraxa the Grand Unifier.
You mean Grizzlebrand?
I mean, yeah. So I hear it's. We've both seen stuff where people are saying it's making waves in Legacy and apparently in Vintage as well. Because the second part, like the Vigilance, Death Touch, lifelink is pretty great. But when it enters the battlefield, reveal the top 10 cards of your library. For each card type, you may put a card of that type from among the revealed cards into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So we've got creatures, planeswalkers, instants, sorceries, artifacts, enchantments, lands. The only thing we're missing is battles.
And, tribal, which doesn't exist in standard. But
yes. 10 cards is so many.
Oh, yeah.
It is so many cards. You're going to draw 3-4 cards out of this. That's unreal.
Yeah. Very, very strong.
And then it just ends the game.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you've got Sanctuary Warden as well, which we've seen before in the Invoke Justice lists. Mm-hmm. That's quite good.
Mm-hmm.
Portal to Phyrexia is another way. It's 9 mana. When Portal to Phyrexia enters the battlefield, each opponent sacks 3 creatures. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. If it's a Phyrexian, it's a Phyrexian in addition to its other types. So, yeah, it's like reanimate, because Invoke Justice can reanimate that. You can put it onto the field, and then you can wipe their board, basically, and then bring back an Atraxa or a Sanctuary Warden.
It's kind of disgusting.
Whatever. This list we're looking at actually has a Nahiri the Unforgiving, which is the new Nahiri.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know what the go is.
It loops. Draw a card, discard a card, then draw.
+1 rummage, discard and draw.
Mm-hmm. And its +1 is also... Raise it up to 1. Target creature attacks a player each combat if able.
Yeah.
So you can force them to make bad attacks.
Yeah, I guess.
And you're just trying to get some level of density for Atraxa, I think is what it is.
Yep. Yeah. So, this list is spicy. I've heard there's a few different versions of this. Some are all in on the combo, which is what the version we're looking at now seems to be. And then there's a few that are a bit more mid-rangey, and then they just kind of have the... Invoke Justices and some Atraxas, whatever, to get back if you get that possibility. Some are just straight up like Boros lists, and they have a literal no way of actually casting the Atraxa at all, which I think this list we're looking at is probably pretty close to that.
Yeah, I don't think they can cast it.
Yep, I guess you can get treasures off your Fable.
I mean, it's got like a Jetmir's Garden and some other stuff, so it's technically possible.
Yeah, I don't think it has a black source.
It's got Haunted Wrench.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
I guess you could get there. But spicy list. The one we were looking at before with the ridiculous amount of things is the 5-color Cami War list, which we've seen Cami War in the past, but now it has Atraxa.
It does. So, it's just jamming 4 of them. 5
mythics and 53 rares, which, I mean, a lot of that is in your mana base, but you do also have... Atraxas and Eternal Wanderers and Twilights, Blue Sun's Twilights.
Yeah, quick math, Shorty. That's more than the whole main deck. Isn't it? 58.
58, okay. Yeah.
All right, whatever.
So you've got
Close
2
enough. There's 2 uncommons I can see, which would go for the throats.
Yep.
I actually think that's it. You've
got some basic lands in there, probably?
Nope.
No, there's not even a single basic land. Wow.
There's some uncommons. There's Duresses and Abrades and Disdain for Strix in the game. Every card
land is a rare. Every single land is a rare.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. 28 of them. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Sure.
Wow.
But we've seen Cami War in the past, and the 5-color list with Leyline Binding is pretty solid. And then getting back Atraxas is pretty cool, and an Eternal Wanderer as well. Yep. So standard. I don't even know. Like as we said, we've kicked off our league. We need people are starting to play matches. I'm gonna be playing league matches on Monday night next week, so I need to figure out what on earth I'm going to play.
Mm-hmm.
The benefit of our new system of the league is I can start with one list and then just completely change something else because we've got a lot of matches to play. But we've also got the Melbourne RC coming up in.
We do
2 weeks. 2 weeks, Gregor. It's 2 weeks.
Oh dear.
From tomorrow. So tomorrow, 2 weeks, we will be playing LCQs. If you're intending on playing LCQs, and they will be standard. So, I need to figure out what to play and then actually buy some cards. That's That's an interesting thought. So probably should get onto that. But I don't think we're going to be seeing any updates on Standard over the next couple of weeks. Like we said, the pros are focused on Pioneer. That's going to be the big format that people are going to be playing. It's unlikely that we're going to get many big results for Standard over the next couple of weeks. So
agreed. So then you just got to look for different sources, right? Like if you're looking for innovations, you're going to have to go to people like Croakies or some of the other big streamers and YouTube as well. You can find different lists and places there that people are trying out, and that's a really good way to do some research rather than just going off static lists. And in new standards, even though the innovations aren't huge, they tend to happen quite quickly still because there's a lot of matches being played on Arena. So go check out some content from different content creators and see what they're doing and what looks good before you sink your money into it.
Yep. Untapped.gg would also be a good source
absolutely.
To get the metagame, that sort of stuff from there. So go and check that out. I'm quite interested in brewing up a surprise blue-red list. There is the blue-red artifact list that's been kicking around, but I think we've got enough of the... Yeah, now we've got the third path iconoclast. There's the single red 1/2 that gets oil counters when you cast instants and sorceries, and then you can discard your hand, draw your hand, that sort of thing. I think there's a few things maybe there that we could play a spicy list. So
I'm with you.
Yep.
So, and then you can also get Mercurial Spell Dancer, the unblockable 2/1 that does a bunch of stuff. So
I might have to brew something up like that. Otherwise, I might be just playing Mono Red.
Yeah, fair enough.
We'll see. But yeah,
just
we'll
hope you
definitely
can race all the Sheoldreds in the world.
Yeah. I mean, when you, like you said, you look at all the top lists and it's mid-range. That's not a metagame to be playing. Mono Red's probably not a metagame to be playing, is it? Either. I might have to be converted to a control player, Cracker, to bust out some
Kami rules
control. Yeah, who knows? Come with some spice. But yes, we will need to figure out what to play because we do have some Standard to come up soon. So we will we'll see how we go. But keep an eye out for my stream on Monday because I will be playing Standard on Monday and I will be playing League matches. So I thought we'd just do a real quick recap on the instructions for the League on the way out. So if you're not interested in the League, feel free to tune out. But the real loyal listeners, the ones that really, really are there for us, they stick around all the way to the very end till you hear the do whatever the music is at the end.
That's it.
J-Mud to do the music again. So quick instructions. Everyone's just in one group. There is one group. There's no multiple groups anymore. So it's a round robin, which means you need to play. You can only play each opponent once. No playing the same opponent multiple times. If you've got the time and you can organise your matches, you get to play everybody in the whole league once, but that's unlikely to happen. So just play as many matches as you can, whenever you can, over the next, you've now got 4.5 weeks to get them done. So we understand that means some people will play 20 matches or 30 matches and some people only play 10. What you want is the highest number of wins. So if you play 30 matches and you only win 10 and somebody else only plays 15 matches but they win 11, they will be higher than you on the ladder because it goes off of your actual match win. So obviously the more matches you play, the more chances you have of winning and having a higher match win count. But yeah, jump on, play as many matches as you can. And all you've got to do, jump on the channel, the tournament chat channel, just ping everyone, ping the all Phyrexia, whatever it is, players tag that Rolling Royce set up for us. And just say, hey, I'm on Arena tonight. Anyone want to play? And there'll be someone who will jump on and give you a game, play your game, and then there is a match results channel. You just jump on there and say, Shorty beat Cracker 2-0. And that's it. And then either one of the beans or one of the mods will jump on, see that result, and record that for you. There is a link for a ladder for the standings on the announcements channel. It's a link for our website with an extra link on it. And yeah, you just click on that. That'll show you the ladder and show you where you're at. And away you go. That's it. Super easy. Nothing complicated this time. And yeah, more chance to play more matches. It seems already just the chatter amongst the channel is drastically increased, which is awesome to see, and people are pretty hyped for it. So yeah, get in. The other thing I realised this week, Cracker, with this league system is if people want to join up late, if you're listening to this now, going, I still want to get in on that, you can. We can just throw you in at any point, and you're going to be at a bit of a disadvantage because you're coming in a couple of weeks late, but you can still jump on and play as many matches as you can in those couple of weeks and potentially end up in the top 8. So, yeah, if you want to get in and you've missed it, you've completely forgotten about it, just ping one of the beans or one of the mods and just say, hey, can I get in on this? We'll add you to the list, and you're good to go. So, should be fun. When are you going to start playing some matches, Cracker?
Probably next week, I think. I need
yes.
to...
I don't think I'll play any matches until Monday.
No. I just need to have a look and see, things have settled a little bit and, just looking through some lists and, see what I can come up with.
Yep. Cool. All right. So, get in it. If you don't understand that or you've got any questions, just post in the tournament series chat channel and someone will jump on there and answer it for you. And, we hope you all have fun with it. So, like we said, if you do want to get in on the leagues, then you do need to be in our Discord. And if you're not already in there, you should be in there because it is the best place around. The link for that is in the show notes as always. There's also links in the show notes for our merch store. We have stuff. I need to actually jump on there and buy myself a Magic Beans thermos keep cup thing for my cups of tea that I have on stream that go cold too quick.
Yeah.
So,
the mug's not cutting it anymore.
Nah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's because I do too much talking and then
that's true.
Tea gets too cold. So they're only like $25. So it's a bargain.
Really good.
So lots of things you can get on there. Jump on there and buy something, and every single cent that we make off of that just goes straight back into the prize pool for tournaments and that. So you're not paying us in any way. It is just going back to you fine people out there. Speaking of things that goes back to you fine people out there, Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. They are the sponsors of all Magic Beans stuff, and their sponsorship allows us to have tournament series with thousands of dollars of prizes. So just go to jpmtgbazaar.com.au and check out the daily auctions. And then if you want to find us anywhere else, just go to our website, magicbeanscast.com. You'll find the links for YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter, all there, and any information that you need about us. If you would like to get in touch with me for any reason, you can find me on Twitter at PeaceInc. And you are, Cracker?
At JoelHill_.
Very good. So that's it for this week. Thank you, as always, for listening. Stay safe out there, and we will see you all next time.